my task today is to present you a general overview of CE marking, and after that Edwin will present you the really big importance of notified body. Yes, you do. And we have the chance to have the Sense Enelec who will also give us expertise about harmonized standards. So our goal is to help you understand how CE marking is working, even though you perhaps will still need your colleagues to help you on the subject after that if you're newcomers. So about CE marking in a nutshell, mostly the main question are what does it mean? Where in Europe or in other countries do you need to have the CE marking, and why is it so important? So what does CE marking mean? It means that the product complies with the safety requirements from the European law. It doesn't mean that it's a China export or that it's a good or best product that's one of your manufacturer neighbored. It just means that it's a sure and safe product. And because of that, usually you can't have national standards for products that are concerned about CE marking. In practice, not so often, because for example in Germany they want you to have CE marking and a national standard, but it's in front of the Court of Justice now. So just for you to know that, I will explain the law, but in practice it can be more complicated than that. So where do you need to have CE marking? Of course, it's in the 28 member states of the European Union, but also in Iceland, Norway and Liechtenstein. Some countries are regarding CE marking as a good way of the safety of the product. For example, in Turkey, you just need to pay another Turkish bodies to put a stamp on your former risk assessment. In Arabic countries, some countries are saying, okay, it's kind of the same compulsory requirements that we have, so we are okay with it. But you don't have legal basics outside those countries. And why is it so important? Because in the European market, no conformity, it means no market. You really need to have it. And by market, it means your country when you're a member of the European Union. So if you want to sell electronic devices in Belgium, you need to comply with CE marking, even though you don't want to export. And that's really important because a lot of people are thinking that CE marking is only to sell in another European country. But European market is also your own country. A really important point also is insurance, because perhaps your manufacturers, they don't know about CE marking, but you can be sure that the insurance companies, they do. So if you sell a product that it's not CE marked and you have any problems with it, the insurance won't pay. So that's really important to explain it to the manufacturers. Another point is that custom and fraud, they can give fees to the manufacturers, but they can also block the products, and that's not very good for your commercial relationship. When you say, I'm sorry, you need to wait 3 or 4 weeks more because I haven't done what I normally have to do. And the last point is the client's reinsurance, because in some kind of products, for example for toys, people know that CE mark means that the product is safe. So if you don't have it, you say, no, I won't buy that doll because it's not CE marked, so I'm not sure it's really safe for children. So for which products do you need to think about CE marking? As you can see, there is quite a big list, but it just means that it's not all products. The tables are not CE marked, but the computer is. and your sunglasses are too. So you need to check if your product is concerned. Just few examples. The medical devices, the toys, some glass of beer because it's measurable equipment, electronical equipment, and we will talk about it tomorrow, the construction products. And just to be more technical, I just want to present you the 4 main steps of CE marking. It's a way I do when I have a new product from one of my clients, the way I follow all the legal regulations in order to help them to comply with it. So first, you need to identify the directives or regulations and the harmonized standards that are applicable to the products. And it's not so easy to do because the products can be concerned by more than one directive, and some products that are in the scope can be exempted. So for example, that doll, that's Elvis, it's a singing doll. So singing means that there is electronic inside. So that's a toy, it can be, but that's also electronical devices, and you also need to check about the hazardous chemicals. So that's 3. And because that's Elvis, it can be a collection toy. So maybe it's exempted. So as you can see, it's not as easy as it seems. So you really need to check it step by steps. And after you say, okay, I need to follow that and that directive, you can go to the harmonized European standards, because the directive only gives you very general terms that it must be safe. For toys, you don't have small parts that can go into a child's mouth. For windows, how the wind is interacted with the glasses, that kind of stuff. But you don't have any numbers. For that, you need to go to the European standards, because they will explain to you how technically follow the requirements. Harmonized European standards are not compulsory, so the manufacturer chooses to use it or not, except for construction products, but you will see that tomorrow. Even though they are not compulsory, really it's the best way to prove the compliance with the CE marking requirements, because the manufacturer just have to buy it, of course, to follow it, and they will have everything they need to prove that they've done their work correctly. So that's a good tool to have, because sometimes your manufacturer, they don't have the skills inside the company to fulfill all the requirements with technical assessments. So that's why the harmonized European standards exist, and the Sense and Elect will after explain how it works. When you know which procedure, which standards, you need to know how to comply with. So in each directive, you will have different procedures. In my opinion, it depends on the product's dangerousness. So you need to check which one is applying. I won't explain it in details because it's quite complicated, and it's more easy, I think, to get inside those procedures when you have a product. So if you need anything, perhaps it's better to check with EN colleagues for the first time, because if I start explaining that, you will sleep in 10 seconds, really. Just knowing, the most important is to know that you have the manufacturer, and some procedure concern the design phase and others the production phase, and at the end of it, you can affix the CE marking. The orange ones are for the manufacturer, and the blue ones is where you really need to have a notified body. The 2 last, they are the worst for manufacturers, because it's really complicated and you need to have a notified body from the beginning to the end. So just for you to know, if you see that in the directive your product is concerned by the EC type examination. You also need to know which blue procedure your clients need to follow. And that's all, because you can find it easy when you have one product. Explaining that generally, it's, in my opinion, not necessary. So after that, you need to do some paperwork, as usually. The first and more important one is the technical documentation. In this documentation, you will find all the information required to show that the product properly complies with the requirements of the directives. That's really technical, and that's really important because that's where you prove how, really in details, you comply with the requirements. So you can find the description of the product, of course, but also the risk assessments, the design, the drawings, the test reports, everything. You have a list in each directive. So if you need to apply 2 or 3 directives, you need to check if one asking something more than the first one, and you can of course just put everything in just one technical documentation. As I said, you can find drawings, risk assessment, design, a lot of really important things for your manufacturer. That's why this documentation is only for national authorities. I stress it because usually when you have a big client, they ask for it. Normally, manufacturer can say, no, it's not for you, because that's only for national authorities. With the technical documentation, you can do the work of the manufacturer if you know how to do it. If you know how to read it, you can do the same products. So you don't give it to clients. But sometimes, commercially speaking, you can't say no to your biggest clients. So you need to tell your client that it's really important that if their client is asking for the technical documentation, they really need to have a confidential agreement. Because they can lose everything if they give it to someone that will use it to make the products, I don't know, manufactured in other countries, or they just steal everything. What it's really public, and that what will attest as a product it conforms, that's the EC Declaration of Conformity. That's the task of the manufacturer, and it attests, as I said, the conformity. And as for technical documentation, you will find everything on each legal text. This declaration must be linked to the product. It means that if you're exporting products outside your country, it's better to have it for customs, because the first step of customs control, it's documental control, so they will check it. If you don't put it in your truck, they will stop the truck and they will ask for it. So it's better to have it already. They don't stop, they just look, okay, you can go. You lose a lot of times without having it with the product. And it's also compulsory to provide it to the client and to any relevant national authorities that is asking for it. Distributors can also and have also to ask for that document. I put an example. I don't know if it's really clear, but as you can see, it's not complicated. It's just the name. You need to have also the name of the company, a description of the products, the different directives that apply to the products, and blah, blah, blah. I hereby declare that the equipment name above has been designed, etc., etc. It's just that I'm a manufacturer, and with this document, I say that my product is in conformity with the European directive. That's all. But it's compulsory to have it. And regarding the new change in the regulations, I think that in further years it will be compulsory to have it on the website too. It's just an option now, but I think it's better to inform the clients to have it on the internet. And something that it's really important is to have it up to date. Because sometimes your company is moving, or the technical director is leaving and you forget to change it, and that can also lead to fees. So it's really important. The language too, it's really important because it's a document that you send to clients, and it can be private clients. So for example, if this declaration is for Belgium, if you sell it all over Belgium, you can't provide it only in French. You need also to provide it in Flemish and German. So that's really important because that's the client's information. The technical documentation, it's different. It's for national authorities. We don't have any legal basis for that, but for example, in France, they say English is okay. Even if it's not compulsory, but they say that English is okay, we understand it. Sometimes German is okay because you have one guy that appears to speak German, but it's not in every customs office in France. So it's better to do it in French, but you can't say, okay, English will be correct. But EC declaration of conformity, for example, in France, French, nothing else. And how to affix the CE marking? It's really regulated too. It might be placed visibly and legibly. It means that you can see it and you can access to it. You don't put it inside a big machinery. You need really to have it in front of you. And it must be indelible. And that's a tricky part because usually you just put something with glue and days after days it goes down. So that's really important because that's also the first way you check if if a product is in conformity with CE marking. So you just take, I think, the micro and say, okay, that's CE marked and I can't move it. So first step, it seemed good. If it wasn't, it can be complicated. For some products, it's not possible to put the CE marked on it because it can't be smaller than 5 millimeters. So in that case, you can affix it to the packaging and all the accompanying documents. But you must follow the proportion. That's why I put you the example of the picture. That's a big proportion. For example, on the Elvis doll, you can't, change the way you put the letter. But if you want to have it in pink or in golden paint, it's okay. But you need to follow that. And if a notified body is involved, you need to affix the identification number. As you can see, it's CE and 10 after that. And just when you affix, just go to the directive because in the new text sometimes they add specific and supplementary information, as it will be the same with construction products. So that's the 4 main steps. I know it's quite complicated, but the first time you use it, it's become way clearer. And so now you need to advise also manufacturer, but I think a lot of our clients are also importer or distributors because we need to have matchmakings and PAs. So when you have a good PAs, it's really important to check if the product is conform. Because it can be a PA but leads to a bad experience. So it's really important to check about it. So the main part is for manufacturers. That's verifying all the requirements from the directive. Check if the product is in conformity with the requirements. Draw up all the paperwork in all the languages. That can take a lot of time. And at the end of the day, only you affix the CE marking on the product. Importers have also a lot of things to do because they can't import products that are not in conformity with the European rules. they need also to check the manufacturer's knowledge and implementation of CE marking. So if you are importing a product from China, you can't just say, yes, they say that they know the CE marking. That's not enough. You need to have the written insurance that all the documentation are available upon request, because as I said, if you give it, you give everything about your company. So at least a written insurance. And you also need to check if the documents, for example, the EC declaration they gave, if it's correctly written. And sometimes it's amazing because you just check it with the importer, say, okay, you gave me that document, it's a very old directive, it doesn't apply anymore, and it's talking, I don't know, about medical devices, and they say that they are complying with the toy directive. That's not good. So that, I think, it's where EN perhaps can help manufacturers or importers. It's just checking really simply that it's what is written in the EC declaration is correct or not. And sometimes it's just that they didn't update the documents, but you need to check it. And something really important too, because usually when a lot of people are importing products and retrading it upon their own trademark. So that means that they're becoming manufacturers. So they need to have more information on the design and production of the products. It means a biggest contract with a lot of explanations that, okay, I give you all my secrets about my products manufacturing, but you say that you won't say anything about it to anyone except national authorities, blah, blah, blah. But it's really important because when importers market the products under their own names, they have the legal responsibility of CE marking. And it can lead someone to jail. So it's not a kind of easy thing. It's really important that they are aware of that because usually they don't know the amount of responsibilities they are taking with importing products. And the people that also have a lot of obligation and that they don't like, but they really need to do, it's the distributors. Because when you distribute something, you store it and you handle it. And sometimes not with good care. So you also need to be sure that, I don't know, the breast implant you are distributing, you don't freeze it or you don't put it in the microwave, I don't know what. You need to follow every steps in order that the manufacturers will provide you a good product in conformity with EU law, you need to ensure that everything is okay when you handle it. And you also need to check if the manufacturer or importer take all the necessary measures about CE marking. And you need to provide the EC declaration of conformity. So that's a big document in communication way. That's the EC declaration of conformity. And as for importers, distributors also take the responsibility when they put their own name on a product. And I see a lot of SMEs that they are doing that and they don't know what they're doing. They just say, okay, I put my name on it and it's okay. No, it's not. You need to check first and after you can do it. Because it really can leads to big legal problems. So I just put you a few links about some website where you can find a lot of good information. The first of all them is the European Commission website. I think we can perhaps go on it. Voilà.
Si tu cliques dessus, comme c'est actif, comme sur un slide, il faut que ce soit un slide.
Non, non, mais c'est bon, je vais faire autrement. Ok. Ah, that's not the French. So if you only go to the commission, okay, and after to the DG Enterprise, because they change a lot of information on those websites and it's really important.
Les directions, tu vois, les directions, Commission, Departments, Directorates General.
Hein?
Non, au-dessus.
Ah?
Département, oui.
Ok.
Et après, dans le département, tu as DG Enterprise.
Ok.
Voilà.
So, you go there, you say hello to the network logo, and here you have information about CE marking, REACH, and product standard. For example, I just want to find something about the toys, and here I am. I can have the link to the directive, also for guidance and guidance documents, contacts within the DG. There is also a website for toys, and I can also find here all the harmonized standards. So that's the first good step in order to find everything. And you have really a lot of information easily. So you're not sure about, I don't know, the scope of a directive, something like that. You go there and you can find in Belgium all the notified body and pop up. So for example, Bon Veritas. I think we can find Edwin for Germany, no? But as you can see, everything is on this website. Because you follow all the steps here. And of course you need to read the directive to check about the harmonized standard. But the first steps that you can easily make it with the Commission website. And that's quite new because it wasn't like that. I don't know, 2 years ago it was more complicated. So now you just in the front page you have everything. For example, I discovered it when I work on my presentation because I kept all the links in my navigator and it took me really a lot of time to identify all those sites. And I just check about the DG Enterprise website because I say, yeah, I need to put it there. And say, oh my God, it's good, everything is on it. I don't need to go to all my web links and favorites. You can also check the notifying authorities. So it's your national authorities. It's important when you are not sure about something, if you want to have an interpretation, you don't need to be in a hurry, of course, but you can have really good tips from those people. In France, we had a change to, I can say, build kind of partnership with those people. And when we are not sure about the product, we can send them an email and they say, okay, you need to comply with that directive or not, and they're giving us information that we can't find by ourselves. So that's for me, it's a really important step in order to provide our clients the best counsel you can. I also put you a link that is missing on the DG Enterprise because usually your clients say, okay, I need to fix it, I will do it, but I don't know how. Do you have a template or something like that? And you can find templates, but it's not easy to find it. It's quite hidden. Because here you can send it to your clients, so you have the template I used, and you have different formats, even EPS. That's really useful when you want to print something. So perhaps it's good to put it.
Actually, that if you go from this, and you had the first.
Yeah, but you have to click more than 3 times. So that's not a good thing.
They also, I know that they go here.
Yeah.
They have.
That's a general. If you want to have the first information, basic information, that's a really good website, and you have it in all EU languages, not only in English or French. And that's a website that I usually send to my clients when you have a quality engineer or a quality director, because they will understand that. And you can also find in there, but they won't go to that steps. That's why a direct link can be useful. And you have also all the European Committee for Standardization. They have a search engine about standards, because I had a case, I was looking for standard for stairs. And if you just check in the communication, we don't speak the same language. It's something complicated to climbing off. It's not stairs, so I didn't find it. But with this criteria, it's more easy, I think. Yeah. It's better with an A. So you have all the. It's not. You need to know a bit about it, but with your clients, it's easier because they know their products. So you can just say, okay, you need to go to all those standards and which one is applying to your products. You can choose the standard for them because they know what they are doing more than you do. You can also go to your national standardization body because sometimes they will need to go through them. If you are really want to go further, and by that I mean without getting asleep, you have the blue guide. You will find everything in it, but it's not easy to read, really. It's complicated, it's legal language, I think that perhaps the first steps, it's your EN colleagues. Because you have people in this room that know how it works, that can help you, and you have some guides in English in the intranet, and you have also a specific forum on Merlin about conformity, where you can ask your question and where your EN colleague can help you. So for me, it will be the first step. And that's all. So if you have any questions,